What's going on? Welcome back to another episode of the Sicko Sports Podcast. UFC 275 is a wrap. It was an amazing card. I think this card showcased everything that the UFC hopes to showcase in a card. It had big explosive moments, great KOs, great ground games, transitions, dog fights, tough fights, all these underdogs who presented challenges, surprises that we didn't expect, fights that went ways we would never expect them to go, and just wars. It had constant, especially that main event, just constant determination from both competitors, from both men, where it just seemed like the fight was going to be over so many times throughout those 5 rounds. But before we get into everything, before we jump straight in to the main event and the top, there's so much to talk about on this card. There's so much to talk about that it's going to be a deep dive on today's episode. But I want to just go over some honorable mentions first before I deep dive into the things. Obviously, there's Joanna coming up. Talks about Weili. We have to talk about Shevchenko and that fight with Thalia Santos in the main event itself with Jiri and Glover, all those things. But I wanted to give some honorable mentions because there's so much to cover on those 3 fights particular, and I'm going to cover them heavy. I want to just give some honorable mentions first. First and foremost, to Silvana Gomez Juarez, KO over Liang Na. She put it's very rare at 115 pounds where you see women, especially the female 115-pound strawweight division, where you see girls getting knocked unconscious. Very rare. Now, we're foreshadowing because we know what happened in that fight between Weili and Joanna, the second fight between them. So we're a little foreshadowing here. It doesn't seem as rare because it happened twice in one night, but it is rare. When at 115 pounds, when you have KOs, you usually have TKOs. You usually have stoppages from the referee where it's just a flurry of strikes where the ref eventually stops it. You know, they go down and it's just a bunch of follow-up shots that makes the ref stop it where they're covering up. Very rarely at that weight class do we have girls getting knocked unconscious. So to see Silvana Gomez Juarez knock somebody unconscious was insane. And it wasn't off of some crazy head kick or spinning back fist, something that creates so much power off of a shot that generates so much torque and force. It was just straight punches. It was just a straight right hand and just crumbled her. So the power that she has, unbelievable job from Silvana. She's 37 years old. I don't know what the potential is for her. I don't know where she goes, how much longer she has in this career, how much longer she has fighting in her life, but that was a great moment for her. Congratulations to her. She did an amazing job. Another one is, please bear with me on this name, Mahashate, however you say it. He's KO's Steve Garcia, who Steve Garcia was the favorite, if I'm not mistaken, in that fight. And another just beautiful straight right hand down the pipe, knocks him out cold, just flatlines him, falls on his face, no follow-up shots needed, none necessary. Great job by him. Jack Della Maddalena. Again, it's the UFC, guys. These names are impossible to pronounce. KO round 1 with body strikes, just quivered his opponent, folded him like a lawn chair. Beautiful left to the body, folds him, puts him out. And then lastly was Jake Matthews' KO over Andre Fiallo. Fiallo was a favorite, not too heavy of a favorite, but Fiallo looked like one of those guys that started to create some of that steam. He started to create some attention for himself as somebody who guys didn't really want to face. We don't really know too much about him. We don't really know how good or not good he is, but he just seems like he's steamrolling past dudes, and people really weren't too... you didn't have a bunch of people just clamoring at that fight. Now, he took that fight not on short notice, but it could have been seen as a short notice fight because he fought, I think, just a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, probably even I want to say it was just a month ago that he fought, got a knockout in that fight, turned around, said, hey, I'm good, talks to Dana White, let me fight right back on this card, puts him on this card against a veteran in Jake Matthews. And for Jake Matthews, I don't think I've ever seen Jake Matthews look this good. I was sitting here just thinking to myself, like, when did Jake Matthews get when did he get this level of striking? When did he become this kind of striker? I don't remember Jake Matthews being, I mean, he was bouncing in and out, everything, just the confidence, hands down, super flowy. What does Conor McGregor say? Stay flowy, stay flowy. He was flowy, beautiful shots, couldn't miss, connected damn near every right hand he wanted on Fialho. So maybe Fialho, maybe he took a gamble. Maybe if he had a longer preparation, maybe if he had more time for this fight, maybe it turns out differently. I don't know. But Jake Matthews looked incredible. He looked great. He looked better than ever, to be honest. I don't ever remember Jake Matthews catching my eye in this way where I'm like, damn, he just looks to be on a different level than the opponent. He just looks like he's too good. Like if you give me Jake Matthews and Fialho again, I don't know how many times it takes before Fialho wins one. Like if you give me a 7-round series or 7-fight series between the two, Jake Matthews probably wins 4 out of the 7. Like, you know, he's probably winning it in 4. He might win it in 5. Like Jake Matthews looked absolutely incredible. Shout out to him. And I say all that just to get those out of the way because I'm not going to harp too much on the prelims, even though, like I said, I just wanted to mention those. Those were some of the great moments of the card. Some unbelievable performances. If I'm not mistaken, they all got performance bonuses. So shout out to the UFC for hooking those fighters up with some extra cash. But I want to jump straight in to the third to last fight on the main card. Weili Zhang, Joanna Jędrzejczyk 2. It was a fight that going into, to be honest, I thought it was going to be a letdown. I really thought that this fight was going to have a lot more takedown attempts from Zhang Weili going into the fight. Obviously, it had takedown attempts from Zhang Weili. I was right about her being able to utilize that wrestling that she's been doing a lot of with Henry Cejudo. But I felt like it was going to be a letdown. I really thought coming into this fight, it was going to be a 3-round decision. It was going to be Zhang Weili's. She was going to get 2 rounds, if not all 3. I really wouldn't have been surprised with a 30-27 decision for Weili. I just thought she was going to mix it in too well. She was going to wrestle Joanna. She was going to get a lot of control time against Joanna, and she was going to be able to win rounds in that fashion where it was going to be nothing like the first fight. And I was wrong. Luckily, I was wrong because they came out the same way. Now, Weili did what I expected her to do. She mixed into takedown attempts. She was able to get a takedown. She was able to get some control time against Joanna. But shout out Joanna for getting up. She found a way to get back to her feet. They were going at it. They were going strong, staying in the pocket. Joanna talked the entire pre-fight interviews were all about how she's not going to sit in the pocket. She's going to be in and out. She's going to maintain range. She's not going to try to close that range too much. She's not going to sit in the pocket with Weili this time. And it's just that, I mean, it's who Joanna is, man. Joanna's just a gangster. She's a gangster of a woman. She will sit in the pocket with anybody, anytime, anywhere, any place. So as soon as she gets hit, that's it. As soon as she got hit once, let's throw that game plan out the window and let's turn this into a fight. And they fought, and it was amazing. Joanna looked good. She had her moments. She landed some good shots. A beautiful outside leg kick early in that fight that actually took Weili off her feet, sat her down. So Joanna definitely had her moments. And then, of course, Weili Zhang, that spinning back fist, she kind of connected with a lot of forearm and fist just kind of wrapping around her head. Brutal knockout. We haven't seen Joanna get knocked out like that in a fight. And then, of course, the biggest, I think, storyline outside of that fight was the fact that, obviously, going into the fight, let me start by saying going into the fight, Dana White was very clear that the winner of this fight was going to challenge Carla Esparza for the championship. And obviously, Weili took care of business. We're going to get Weili and Carla. I'll talk about that in a second. But I just wanted to say that was a storyline going into the fight. But I think post-fight, the bigger storyline of it was Joanna Jędrzejczyk's retirement. She took the gloves off. She was emotional, shed some tears, but always being the person that Joanna is, very, very humble in defeat. Speaks extremely well and is always grateful and speaks about having a great life. And to hear her talk about how life is beautiful and the things that she wants to accomplish and how she wants to be a businesswoman, how she wants to be a mom, how she wants to do all of these things after 2 decades of fighting. It was beautiful to watch. I'm so happy that she decided to retire, because I really think that that's a woman that, if she takes the approach that she took to MMA into anything that she does in her life, she's going to be successful. The MMA community, to see the unity of embrace that they have for Joanna and Jacek, it speaks volumes to who she was as a fighter, how influential she was as a fighter. She did really open a lot of doors for women in MMA, because let's be honest, like, the one thing I keep hearing is how great Joanna was and what she did and all these things, and I agree 100% with all of it. But I think one of the things that I can't, the thing that keeps getting left out was like the harsh reality of how to become a superstar in female MMA, like a superstar, and to have an embrace from all of the MMA community. There's so many things that have to happen, and the harsh reality of it is you have to be able to connect with the male audience. The MMA is mostly a male audience. So as a female fighter, how do you connect with a male audience? And I think Joanna was able to do that. Obviously, the number one easiest way to do it is be an attractive female, unfortunately. But fortunately, if you are an attractive female, like, yeah, that's one of the easiest ways to connect with a male audience. They're always going to notice you, recognize you, they'll remember you, they'll cheer you on, all those good things. But then the other way is something that I think Joanna found very... She did something that I'm trying to think. The reason I'm taking a while is I'm trying to think of how many women have had this ability, and it's hard for me to find one. But Joanna has this kind of Nick Diaz aura about her, where it's, we love you because you're a gangster. You don't play fighting. You don't try to point your way to victories. You don't try to find these ways to just escape. You fight. You're a fighter. Every time you step in the octagon, it is clear that you are in a fight. You're not in a competition. You're in a fight. And Joanna has done that, and she got this overwhelming amount of support from fans, because they love the fact that when she steps in there, it's fists, man. It's fist flying and kicks, and she stays in the pocket, and she's not afraid to trade shots, and she's in your face, and she's aggressive, and she talks a big game, and she backs it up. She's never scared. She's never moving back. Like, those are the great things about Joanna and Jacek. And I think that she's one of the very few women that have been able to connect with the male audience in that way of just being such a badass, where we look at her and we're like, yeah, she's a killer. Like, she is the boogie woman for a reason. She was the queen of the strawweight division for a reason. So shout out to Joanna and Jacek, the overwhelming amount of support that she has from the MMA community, from, it seems like, the staff in the UFC. She's going to be able to go on and do whatever she wants. She said she's going to be around. She said she wants to train with Rose, which I thought was really, really cool. Something that Rose should definitely take on from Joanna as well, to kind of get, I think if you put Joanna's mentality into Rose's ability, that's the champion. That's the champion of the world. Rose's ability to do what Joanna says she's going to do, right? To stay at a distance, to be in and out, the movement, the striking, all those things are so beautiful from Rose. Her ability to defend off her back, her ability to get up quicker, her ability to get takedowns of her own. Like, the ability, I think the skill set is higher for Rose, but sometimes Rose lacks that mentality that Joanna has, which is, I'm a killer. I am a gangster. I am going to take your head off. That's something that I think Rose can really benefit from. And it'd be interesting. I just really want to see it. I just really want to see Rose and Joanna together and just training together and hanging out together. So Joanna's pretty adamant, she seemed. I mean, to just say, like, I want to train with Rose. I want to help Rose. She said that she wants to see Rose eventually become the champion again. I think is really big. It speaks volumes to who she is as a person. She always spoke about how she wants to help others. You always see pictures and videos of her training with all these other up-and-coming women in MMA. So she's going to be that beacon of light. She's going to train. She's going to be around. She's going to be used by the UFC, which she has to. If the UFC doesn't use her, if they don't pay her to at least just be some part of promotional value and just have her around and have her be a beacon of MMA, female MMA moving forward, like, then they're missing, and I think they will. So I'm really excited to see what Joanna does moving forward. And then for Zhang Weili Zhang, I don't know. Everybody says it both ways. But Weili Zhang, she's going to move on against Carla Esparza, and they asked Joanna who does she see in that fight between Carla and Weili, and she said first round finish for Weili. It's just tough. It's just tough to imagine Carla Esparza beating Zhang Weili, especially when you see the type of strength, the type of wrestling that she's starting to have now with Henry Cejudo. You'd imagine that she's going to go straight with Henry and they're going to work all on a game plan to be able to stuff Carla Esparza's takedowns, to be able to mitigate the success that she has from shooting these takedowns. And Weili's going to be able to keep this fight standing. If she keeps that fight standing, it's just tough for me to imagine Carla Esparza winning that fight. It was tough for me to imagine Carla Esparza winning the fight that she won against Rose. I think it'd be different if Carla just kind of, where we saw her and we're just like, oh, she's just that much better. She's just such a problem and a nightmare, a matchup nightmare for Rose, that she just imposed her will, and she's just somebody that Rose cannot beat. It was different. We didn't really leave that fight saying that. After that fight, you kind of left saying, if Rose just did more, if Rose just tried a little harder, she would have won. We just didn't understand what happened in that fight. It was such a head scratcher of a fight that it's tough to crown Carla Esparza, where we saw Carla lose to Joanna in a fashion that Joanna just dominated her. You saw her get completely mopped, just completely ragdolled by Tatiana Suarez. You've seen her lose these fights where it's just tough to imagine her beating Zhang Weili, who, in my opinion, is the most athletic female in that division by far. When it comes to strength, explosion, power, like, she is so athletically gifted. Did you see that flip that she did after she knocked out Joanna? That like weird, I'm not a gymnast, I apologize. She did this crazy flip where like no hands on the floor and she just kind of does this crazy little front flip leg kick thing. She's an athlete, a true, she is ripped. The traps, the power that she has. Even Joanna after the fight was talking about how she didn't expect her to be that strong. She was like, she is just strong, so much stronger than the first time we fought. And it's something that I think Zhang Weili is just putting in the effort. She's putting in that time, and especially now that she's starting to put it together, I think she's been the most explosive. She's been the most athletic in that division for a little while now. But now that she's starting to put together game plans and learning how to mix in wrestling and be better as a grappler and mix in shots when she wants to instead of just imposing her will. She did well. It worked, right? She became a champion by just simply imposing her will on other women. But I think now that she's starting to be able to complete a game plan and to be able to round out her craft, I just can't see someone like Carla beating her. I just really can't. Now, can I see Rose beating her? Maybe. It depends what kind of mindset Rose is in. It depends the improvements that Rose makes and if she wants it. I don't know. Sometimes it just seems that Rose has this determination about her where she just can't be stopped and she's just the best, even without the mantra, even without her coming out saying, I'm the best. It just seems like in her preparation, and then it seems like the determination takes over her in the fight where she is determined to be the best. And then there's times where it's just like, she doesn't really care about this. You know what I mean? Like, that is what it is. It's just weird. It's just, she's such a head scratcher. But I can see Rose giving Weili a lot more problems than Carla. Obviously, we've seen it, right? Weili's 0-2 against Rose. So obviously she's going to give her a lot of problems, but it's just tough for me to imagine Carla being able to impose her will, be able to secure takedown after takedown and control time on top of it against Weili, especially with this newfound mentorship that she has with Henry Cejudo, who's really helping her round her game out. I expect Zhang Weili to be the next champion of the 115-pound female division. I expect her to win that, and we'll be able to segue this because the dream scenario is not a fight with Carla Esparza, nor is it a third fight with Rose Namajunas. It is a super fight where I can imagine Zhang Weili moving up a division and challenging Valentina Shevchenko. Segue into that fight. Going into the fight, I actually have I messaged Casey O'Neill. And I told her, I was like, I have a weird feeling that Thalia Santos is going to win this fight. I don't know what it is. I just have this weird feeling like people are just sleeping on her ability to wrestle, her jiu-jitsu. I don't know if Valentina has ever fought anybody that has a combination of the two. She's fought girls that have pretty good jiu-jitsu, but they just don't know how to keep her off of them. They don't know how to keep Valentina off. They don't know how to deter Valentina from getting into positions that she wants to get into, or they just lack the size, they lack the strength. Thalia Santos is a girl, I'm like, she has enough where Valentina has to respect her. She has enough on the feet where Valentina has to give her respect. And I think that she's a better wrestler and she's a better on the ground than Valentina. I just think she is. I think Valentina has more ways to win, and Valentina definitely has more ways to finish a fight. I definitely didn't think that Thalia would be able to finish the fight, but I thought maybe she catches her in something. Maybe Valentina makes a mistake, but maybe she just gets enough control time, or maybe she just finds ways to put enough pressure on Valentina. I just had a weird feeling that she was going to win, and she didn't. And Valentina was able to, a lot of people were saying that she escaped with a victory. It's funny because in this card, in the co-main event and the main event, I thought about Jon Jones. And it's weird, like, why are you thinking about Jon Jones at this moment? But that fight between Valentina and Santos gave me Jon Jones, Dominic Reyes vibes, where I don't think Dominic Reyes was robbed. I really don't. And I don't think Thalia Santos was robbed. I just think when you're a big underdog, when people think that you're just another casualty, you're just going to get ran through, and you have a certain level of resistance in the fight, I think sometimes people can put too much credit into that, where Jon Jones was never hurt in that fight. Valentina Shevchenko was never hurt in this fight. There was never moments where it was like, oh, she's hurt, her will's about to be broken. She was, worried about if she was even going to be able to win this fight or not, or she was, those moments where you see a fighter in the moment. In the next fight that we're going to speak about, there were moments for both of those fighters where you go, oh no, they're breaking. Oh no, they're done. And then somehow we're able to fight through that. There was no moments in that fight where I go, oh, Valentina's about to lose. Oh, Valentina's about to break. Oh, Valentina's hurt. There's no moments of that fight. So, yeah, did Thalia Santos win a few rounds? Yes. One judge was just smoking crack. The judge that gave it, 49-46, which they gave 4 rounds to Valentina. I don't know how you gave 4 rounds to her, but I just don't like the notion that as a challenger, your game plan is to win via control time, not ground and pound, not damage. You're not bringing the fight to somebody. You're trying to turn this into a grappling competition and thinking that that's going to do enough. That's going to be enough to get the job done. I don't like that notion. Go out. I say this all the time. If you're going to be the champ, you got to beat the champ. And I don't mean you have to finish. I don't mean that if the challenger doesn't get the finish, then you should sway all the voting to the champion. No, if the champion lost, the champion lost. But the UFC has shown us time and time again, guys, we are prioritizing damage above anything else. And when you have control time, but there's no damage, what do you want us to do with that? So you're hanging on to this girl for dear life. So you're clearly in a position where you want no problem on the feet. You want no part of her on the feet, and you're going to take her down, and you're going to try to hold. There's a difference. Now, if Thalia were to posture up in some of those positions, land some strikes, land some elbows, do some damage, you don't got to finish her. You don't got to get to a point where you leave Valentina in a bloody pool, but just inflict some damage in those scenarios. Maybe you win an extra round that gives you the victory. But in this situation for Thalia Santos, you did well. And I think nobody should be able to sleep on you ever again. But you could have done more to win this fight. And I think when you look at Valentina was the one pressuring. Valentina definitely outstruck her. I mean, she outstruck her it wasn't even close. The striking difference wasn't even close. When Valentina had those positions, when Valentina had some control time, this is the difference, right? This is what I'm trying to say. If one person, right, if person A is on top of person B for 4 minutes, and in those 4 minutes, it is just simply control. That person that is on top is acting defensively because they are just reacting to whatever the bottom position is doing. They're just fighting off any submission attempts from the bottom, and they're trying to hold the position that they're in. They're not posturing up. They're not doing any damage. They're not landing any elbows. They're not landing any strikes. And they're not really attempting any submissions on their own or getting something in deep where it becomes a real problem. They're simply trying to hold them there. Now, person B ends up on top of person A for a minute and a half, right? Not 4 minutes, but a minute and a half. But in that minute and a half, they land elbows, they land punches, they posture up, and they're hitting this person in the face. There are moments where there's damage. Who should have won that? Who wins in those control times? You have to be more aggressive if you want to be the champion. And for Thalia Santos, she did a great job. I think her game plan was excellent. I just think that she lacked the aggression. She lacked the violence that she needed in order to win this fight. And I truly do believe that Valentina deserves to continue to be the champion. I thought that she won that fight. And it gave me Jon Jones, Dominic Reyes vibes where, with Jon Jones, I was like, everyone was like, Dominic Reyes won. I'm like, whenever you have a 5-round fight, and in the last 2 rounds, the champion wins them and looks better, I don't know how you give the fight to the challenger, because you came out and you didn't get dominated in the first 2 rounds because you had some success in the first couple rounds. Like, we're going to put so much stock into that to where we think that you won the fight. For the Jon Jones and Dominic Reyes fight, it was the same thing. I think Jon Jones did enough in 3 rounds to win the fight. I thought Dominic Reyes faded in the last couple rounds. I thought he lost his aggressiveness. There was no damage done from Dominic Reyes' side at all. So how do you expect to win that fight? And I think this was very similar where, I don't think Thalia Santos was robbed. If Thalia Santos won, I would probably be sitting there saying, I gave it to Valentina. But I also wouldn't have been upset. I wouldn't have been, Valentina got robbed. She destroyed her. No, but just me personally, I think Valentina won 3 rounds to 2. And then moving on to what's next? Let me get back to what I was saying, the dream scenario. Valentina has been talking about moving up in weight class, looking at Amanda Nunes, looking at the current champion now. She's looking at these divisions, and she's wondering where she goes from here. She's saying that she'll stay in her division and she'll compete and she'll take on the next challenger, or she could probably try to move up to get that second belt from whoever has it when, the dust settles between them two. But I think the fight that's there for her is Zhang Weili. I think if Zhang Weili gets... Now, meanwhile, Valentina would have to defend it again. I think a rematch with Thalia Santos would be awesome. I know Dana and the UFC hate immediate rematches, but in this scenario, I think a rematch... who else is... who else are you going to give that fight to at 125 pounds? Who else are you going to give this to? It's tough to imagine somebody else doing what Thalia Santos was able to do and giving her that hard of a time. I think you give her that rematch, and hopefully, from UFC perspective and pay-per-view perspective, hopefully Valentina can get the job done in a more convincing way, and she can fix the holes, or I guess the mistakes that she made against Thalia Santos. She could fix those mistakes, right those wrongs, and then beat Thalia in a more hopefully even get the finish, and then set up a major match between Zhang Weili. Zhang Weili, on the other hand, hopefully can go take care of Carla Esparza, become the champion again in that division, and you set up a mega fight between Zhang Weili and Valentina Shevchenko. Who wouldn't want to see that fight? Who wouldn't want to see Zhang Weili move up a weight class and challenge Valentina? Because when you look at what Thalia Santos did, man, that's a hell of a fight, and that fight can be explosive everywhere. When Weili gets on top, she's looking to hurt people. She's looking for elbows and punches and strikes. She wants to stop the fight. When Valentina gets on top, she's looking for punches, elbows, and she's trying to stop the fight. And standing what an explosive fight that would be. The way that Valentina counters, the way that Zhang Weili can sit in the pocket, the power that they both have, especially Zhang Weili, the power that she's shown in that division can give Valentina some issues. That's the fight. It's not Valentina moving anywhere. It's Zhang Weili coming to Valentina. And she can defend both belts, right? All she would have to do is just simply not cut weight at 125. And who knows, maybe that gives her a newfound feel. Maybe she goes in there and says, holy shit, I felt better than I ever have at 115 because I'm not cutting weight like that. You know, they asked Valentina if she would ever just consider moving down and challenging for that belt. And she was like, man, I see the kind of torture that these girls go through for that weight cut. And I don't think I want to do it. Like, I don't think I want to go through that kind of torture. I don't know how I'd feel. And for Zhang Weili, we know that she has some tough weight cuts. This girl is fucking ripped. You see the traps on her abs and everything. There's not an ounce of fat to lose. So what is she like? She is literally just depleting herself to make 115 pounds, which she's never missed weight. If I'm not mistaken, please correct me if I'm mistaken. I don't think Zhang Weili has ever missed weight. But maybe at 125, she feels even more powerful. She feels like she has more endurance. She has more stamina. She has more strength in there. She adds more power. Maybe I would love to. That's the fight. It's not her and Amanda Nunes or anybody else. It's not her waiting for the next challenger at 125. For Valentina, the dream scenario, the mega fight is her and Zhang Weili at 125 pounds, where Zhang Weili has the opportunity to get both belts. And if that's going to be there, okay, it's going to be there. If Zhang Weili moves up and loses and Valentina is able to hold her off and beat her, then okay, move up and challenge for that 135-pound belt. But Zhang Weili would be the super fight, not moving up in weight class. Stay where you're at. Convince Zhang Weili to come in and try to figure that out. Outside of that, like I said, Thalia Santos, what's next for her? An immediate rematch just makes sense. Like, it was very similar to the Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno fight, the first one, where multiple things are taking place on why there's an immediate rematch. Again, Dana and the UFC don't typically like immediate rematches. At least they didn't used to, but now when you start thinking about it, like, certain scenarios play out where they do give those immediate rematches. Certain scenarios happen where they give them. And those scenarios for somebody like Brandon Moreno was, well, one, we didn't expect you to give the champion this much havoc. We didn't expect you to give him fits the way you did. We didn't expect it to be as competitive as it was, and it was. That's one. Number two, if I'm not mistaken, Figgy did he miss weight that time? I don't remember. I don't know if he missed weight. I know he was saying he was sick, and that was a lack of his performance and all that. I'm not sure if he missed weight. But also, there just wasn't enough competition. There wasn't somebody else waiting in the wing who we were chomping at the bit to see against Figgy. So, oh well, let's just put this rematch together, and then Moreno goes down and wins. And I think Thalia Santos has the same argument for her in her favor. She's probably looking at this going, I can go and fight one of these other girls, okay, but who else is really waiting in the ring? I mean, what do we want to see? We want to see Caitlin Chikagian again? Like, what else is there in this division? You know, yeah, maybe you got Murphy and Jesus Christ, Lauren Murphy and Miesha Tate coming up. Yeah, maybe, but like Miesha Tate already lost to somebody, and then Lauren Murphy just got destroyed by Valentina. She had no success, but maybe I fight that winner, and okay, I can do that, and then what, I win again, and I fight Valentina, and then in the meantime, who does Valentina fight? Like, there's all those things that are happening where Talia's probably like, let us go again. Let me go again. This was the most entertaining fight we had. There's no fight in this weight class that's going to sell like this. There's no fight in this weight class, especially if Miesha Tate loses. Maybe you can make an argument where if Miesha Tate wins, she can somehow move up and kind of take that place and challenge Valentina. But with Miesha Tate just coming off of a loss, it's like, and if Lauren Murphy wins, then there's definitely no, because nobody wants to see Lauren Murphy and Valentina again. Nobody wants to see that fight again. That is such a one-sided fight. Thalia Santos has every argument to say, I should be next in line. I just fought but I should still be next in line because no one has been able to push her and challenge her to the way I did. And I have enough people in social media saying that I won, give me the immediate rematch. I think the UFC would be interested in doing it. Like I said, Thalia has so much argument in her favor to push that immediate rematch, and I would love to see it. I would love to see it for multiple reasons. Maybe Santos is just really that matchup nightmare. Maybe she's just the one person at that weight class that is definitely good enough to beat Valentina, or maybe Valentina fixes some of the things. Maybe Valentina's IQ, and maybe she saw that she made some mistakes. Maybe she felt like she should have been more aggressive. She rights the wrongs and then gets a dominant finish where we go, okay, cool, we can close that chapter. And then now moving on to the final fight of the night, Jiri Prochazka, Glover Teixeira. Glover, for 42 years old, 41 years old, somewhere around there, just became champion. One thing that was really weird for me leading up to this fight was the overwhelming amount of support and love that Glover got when he beat Jan Blachowicz going into the fight. It seemed like everybody was like, please, Glover, please. And when Glover won, it just seemed like this crazy uproar of how many people love Glover, and he was like the champion that we've all been waiting for, and we were so happy. And then for some reason, when the Jiri fight got booked, I saw a change in the MMA community where it was like, I couldn't believe how many people wanted Glover to lose. I'm like, it just seemed like this was the people's champ. And now Sonny's fighting Jiri, and everyone's like, Jiri's going to take his head off. Jiri's going to be champion. I love Glover, but sorry, it's Jiri's turn. Like, let Jiri get it. So that was one thing I was surprised in. I was surprised in how split the fans were between who they were rooting for between Glover Teixeira and Jiri Prochazka. I was very surprised by that. I thought there was going to be an overwhelming amount of support for Glover and not so much for Jiri, but it really wasn't like that. And in this fight, I mean, again, I talked about how I thought about Jon Jones. I mentioned Jon Jones in the Valentina and Thalia Santos fight. And I thought about Jon Jones again during this fight because I immediately thought about Jon Jones and Alexander Gustafsson the first time they fought, and how incredible that fight was. I'm a prisoner of the moment. I will always say that I have a habit of being a prisoner of the moment. This fight was better. This fight was, I had never seen a light heavyweight championship fight this good. I mean, multiple moments in damn near each round where I said, okay, this person's about to win. And then the other guy just flipped the script. And I said, holy shit, okay, that guy's about to win. The first time Glover gets the takedown, I think it was in the very first round, where Glover gets the takedown, gets to his back, and I'm like, oh no, this is going to be a first round finish for Glover. Glover's really that guy. And the one thing that we all thought was, I think a lot of people thought about this fight. I know I was one of them. I was very unaware of Jiri's abilities on the ground. I didn't know how good or how bad he is on the ground. I didn't know. I hadn't seen it. But I figured this was going to be a very Charles Oliveira, Justin Gaethje. If you can keep it standing, you have a really good shot. But if this fight goes to the ground, if Glover's able to land a shot and get you down and get your back, or just simply take you down and get to the positions that he wants, it's probably going to be over. You probably don't have a chance. And that wasn't the case. Jiri got to the ground. Glover was able to get into positions. If I'm not mistaken, Glover full mounted him like 3 times in this fight. And Jiri somehow battled out of each one. But I'm like, I did not know Jiri had that type of ability off of his back. I didn't know he had that type of scrambling ability. I didn't know he had the ability to get out of these tough situations, to avoid the submission attempts that Glover was trying to land on him. And Glover was trying, man. Glover got to some unbelievable positions that he feels super confident in. He got into an arm triangle where Jiri, after the fight, admitted like it was tight. It was in there. And I had to find something. I had to just get out of it somehow. And then there were moments in that fight where Jiri started opening up on the feet, where he was landing body shots and then up to the top. And the body shots seemed like they were really wearing on Glover. And Glover even mentioned it afterwards. I like how he tried to, after the fight, the post-fight interview, Glover was talking about the weight cut and something else. And he immediately stopped himself. He was like, yeah, the weight cut. And he's like, I'm not even going to make excuses. It wasn't the weight cut. He hit me with some body shots that hurt. Like, he hit me with some body shots that really messed me up. And there were moments in that, I want to say it was like third round, maybe fourth round, where Yuri started having moments where we were like, oh, Glover's about to, like, this is almost it for Glover. He was starting to land big shots on Glover, body, head, just landing shots. We were like, okay, this is about to be over. Threw a knee as Glover was coming in. Glover ate it on the chin, still somehow secured the takedown off of it. And then Yuri starts preventing takedowns, starts fighting them off. Glover's not being able to secure takedowns anymore. The fight was fucking incredible. Just the back and forth. And then out of nowhere, the fifth round starts, and Glover's just piecing Yuri up. Yuri looks like he's done. Yuri looks like he has no more bounce in him. He has no more legs. He has no more juice left. It just seems like he is so offbeat, so off rhythm, where every strike that Glover is throwing is landing clean, and Yuri just looks like he has delayed reactions to everything, and Glover is landing whatever he wants, hurts him, wobbles him. Yuri's legs seem to give out, and then Glover makes the big mistake, the mistake that everyone's talking about, has him hurt, has it looking like it's about to be a finish, and then Glover shoots. Yuri puts his head down. Glover jumps on his neck and tries to pull guard, tries to jump onto a guillotine, and Yuri's able to slip. Glover slips off, and now Yuri has top control, is in his full guard, and everyone's sitting there immediately. If I'm not mistaken, it was DC. It was probably DC and Bisping, where they were like, what are you doing? Why? Like, what a big mistake. What a huge mistake Glover made in that situation. But listen, sometimes when you're that tired, what you're assuming is that Glover isn't exhausted. We're assuming is that Yuri is about to be done. Yuri is tired. Yuri's ready to quit, and Glover is ready for the kill. We don't know that. The truth may be that Glover was sitting there thinking, I am so done. I am so gassed. Thank God I'm landing a few of these shots. Now is my opportunity to finish this fight, to jump on this guillotine and get it done, or to get to the ground, and he has nothing left, and I can somehow just secure this position for the win, and it backfired on. But here's the crazy thing. Correct me if I'm wrong. In that fifth round, when he jumped guillotine, slips off, Yuri ends up on top. But if I'm not mistaken, Glover reverses position, gets to his position again, and then Yuri reverses again, and then ends up being able to finish the fight, which who the hell would have ever imagined in a million years that Jiri Prochazka would win this fight by submission in round 5 against Glover Teixeira? The fact that Glover lost by submission and the fact that he jumped guillotine, which was a huge mistake, spoke to how winded, how mentally fatigued he was. It just shows you how dead tired he was. Now, he's not going to give up. Glover's not going to give up, never that. But you can tell that he was exhausted, and Yuri just had maybe not, I don't think Yuri had any more physical fatigue or less physical fatigue than Glover, but I think he had less mental fatigue. And that's what allowed Yuri to somehow pull off an insane submission at the very last minutes of this fight, very last seconds of the fight. Yuri pulls off submission victory, and a fight where afterwards the scorecards come out and Glover would have won if Glover just did not get submitted, held off the submission. Even if Yuri finished on top, as long as Glover didn't get finished in that fight, he was up on 2 of the scorecards enough to where even if the last 5th and final round went to Yuri, which I don't even think it would have because of the flurry that Glover was landing, Glover would still have won that fight on the scorecards. It is just heartbreaking. It's tough. It's just, oh, Glover, you had it. Everybody that had Glover in that fight, everybody that was rooting on Glover in that fight, probably all had the exact same reaction, which is, you had it. You had it. It was done. We had the bag. We had the bag in our hands, and you fumbled it. But again, man, it was just such a grueling fight. Whenever you have guys like that type of pace that they had, the type of scrambles that they were able to have on the ground, and the shots that they were landing, like those are things that you expect from like a middleweight fight. But from a light heavyweight fight at 205 pounds, and trust me, neither one of these guys weigh 205 pounds while they're actually in the cage. But to have guys that big, that powerful, and to put them through 5 rounds of a good pace. There was no moments where it was sluggish, where it was slow, where the crowd starts doing the woo because there's just nothing going on. There's no action in the fight. You know, the Rose and Carla fight, crowd doing the wave because they're so bored. Like, there was no moments of that. This fight was a banger from start to finish. This fight was action packed from start to finish, and it's crazy to see 5 rounds of this, and no one really broke Glover. I think mentally had that fatigue take over, and he made some mental mistakes that Glover definitely doesn't make in the first 3 rounds of a fight. And Jiri, just to see that type of mental fortitude, to see him be on the brink of loss multiple times, especially in that 5th round where he was hurt and he was wobbled and he was falling over, to have that wherewithal to still say, I'm still going to find a way to stay alive here, find a way to survive, and then notice and recognize my opportunity at a path to success, and then jump on the neck and submit Glover Teixeira. Jiri said so many times before the fight, I don't play jiu-jitsu. I'm not a jiu-jitsu guy. I don't play jiu-jitsu. I fight. I strike. I hit you. I knock people out. So for him to finish it that way, it just shows. One thing I disagree with was Jiri after the fight talking about his lack of his sloppiness, and he didn't feel smooth. He didn't feel clean. He didn't feel good. It was a terrible performance. Nah, man, Glover is really that guy. Glover is a problem. Glover is a menace. Glover can beat you in so many ways. So feel proud of the fact that you beat a guy like that. And you beat him when it came time in every aspect of the fight. You had to show that kind of mental fortitude. You had to show that you had to dig deep in yourself to pull something out. You had to bounce back. You had to deal with... You had to show this type of resilience that we want to see in a fighter. This was a long 5-round fight. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a lucky shot. This was a test of will. So be proud that you showed more mental fatigue, that you showed less mental fatigue than a veteran and a dog like Glover Teixeira. Nothing to hang your hat on, Jiri. You are a bad man, and you beat a bad man who has so much experience in the octagon. Nobody thought that Jiri would be able to come out on top if the fight got into rounds 4 and 5. People thought Jiri had a really good shot in the first couple rounds where he's fresh. Jiri's style is very bouncy, in and out. He's hands down. He throws kicks right up into your face. He throws flying knees. His shots are very unexpected. He darts in and darts out. When he's that bouncy and that elusive, that's where people felt like he was going to have the most success against Glover. In those first couple rounds, maybe you land a big shot. Maybe you get a knockout. Once we get into rounds 4 and 5, where you lose some of that, we don't think you're going to win. And if Glover gets you to the floor, this fight is over. And Jiri showed otherwise. Jiri showed that he is an all-around fighter. He's not just a striker. He does have the ability to fend off takedowns. He does have the ability to get up out of bad positions. And he has the ability to submit you if you get lazy on him. Shout out Jiri Prochazka. For him, what's next? Jan Blachowicz is sitting there. Glover was asking for a rematch immediately. Don't know how this is going to go. He's somebody who I just don't see moving up to heavyweight at any point soon. I think that his home is light heavyweight. He's kind of that perfect build at light heavyweight. I know he doesn't walk around as massive, but he's tall for the weight class. He's like 6'3" or something like that. Chiseled, you know what I mean? Great, not to sound gay, great body. Like he's that guy. He's amazing, but I think light heavyweight for him is perfect. I think he stays there. You just take on the next challenger. If it's Glover, cool. If it's Jan Blachowicz, cool. If Robert Whittaker is going to move up and try to challenge there, great. That adds another name to the division. But if you're Jiri Prochazka, I think you are at the moment, especially now, like you only a few fights in. People keep forgetting he's only a few fights into the UFC. He has not been fighting. He's not a veteran. He does not have all this experience. So for him, it's just continue to try to get your reign. Do something that guys are not able to do in that weight class, which is put together title defenses. That's going to speak volumes for you in your career. The thought of moving up or down is ridiculous right now for Jiri. Start putting together some title defenses, because title defenses in that weight class seem to be very, very hard to achieve. John Jones made it look very easy for way too long, but it seems like it is a very difficult thing to do. So congratulations to Jiri Prochazka. For Glover Teixeira, Glover asked the perfect question. Right? He asked DC, did I look 42, 41, whatever, however old Glover is? I think he's 42. Where he asked DC, did I look 42? And DC said, hell no, you look good. He says, well, I'll keep going then. Then I'm going to keep going. And that's exactly what Glover should do. As long as I look good, as long as I feel good, as long as I'm still competing at a high level, keep going, man. As soon as that falls off, then you think about retirement. And now he's almost playing with house money, like, because he's already been champion, right? There was always that thing where, like, it eluded him, where maybe he had to have that point in his life where he said, God, I don't want to retire without a championship. I don't want to retire without ever feeling like I was the best, or without ever getting that recognition for being one of the best. Like, I don't want to do that. And he was able to do it. So now he's kind of playing with house money. Now he's like, I'm just going to keep going until I don't feel like I can compete anymore. Now I know I can be that. I know I can get there. I know I can beat all of these guys. Now it's a race against time. It's me versus me. It's me versus time right now. So I'm going to give it my all for the next couple years, because that's probably all I got left before I do start deteriorating, before I do get to the point where I look 45 or 44 or whatever it is. So I'm excited to see Glover keep going. Definitely be rooting him on in his next fight for whoever it is against. But just an awesome night of fights. UFC 275 was so freaking good. UFC 276 is going to be awesome. I can't wait for that one. But until then, we have some fight nights coming up. We also have game number 5 in the Celtics Warriors series, which is massive. Whoever wins game 5, I think it's somewhere around like 70 something percent. Whoever wins game 5 ends up winning the series. So very interested to see who wins that. But like I said, we do have some fight nights here in Austin is coming up Saturday. Calvin Kattar against Emmett. That's going to be a really good fight. Let me pull up the fight card for that one. Actually, I know there's some pretty decent fights. It's a fight night free fight. If you have ESPN Plus, you can catch this fight. Definitely don't want to miss it. It's pretty good. Donald Cerrone and Joe Lozon we're rescheduled to this card, so that's going to be good. Tim Means, Kevin Holland, the Batman, the Cape Crusader, Kevin Holland, the guy that continues to save lives, just continues to be in the right place at the right time. He's going to be on this card. I love watching Kevin Holland, man. I think that people have a different appreciation for Kevin Holland, especially with all these. How are you always? Is he in the right place at the right time, or is he in the wrong place at the wrong time? Like, I don't understand how he just happens to be everywhere that some crime is happening, and he just keeps stopping them all or saving people. And it's just weird to see Kevin Holland do this. Joaquin Buckley, Albert Derive. Joaquin Buckley is an underdog in this fight. Joaquin Buckley, if you don't remember, he's the one who went up to Darren Till and Hamzat, where Hamzat was trying to fight him before his fight even started. Ismagulov, Julian Marquez, who you guys might remember, Gregory Rodriguez. That's some pretty good fights, man. These are some heavy bangers. You might see quite a bit of knockouts in this one. I know a fan favorite fight that everyone's looking forward to is Adrian Yanez against Tony Kelly. There's a pretty big swing in fan votes in who the community wants to see win. It's pretty heavy favorite for Adrian Yanez for multiple reasons. Adrian Yanez is pretty active and pretty vocal on in the MMA Twitter space. He has a lot of fans there. He communicates and does Twitter spaces and stuff with fans, so he has a lot of love and support from the community for him. And then Tony Kelly, if you don't remember, he was the guy that was in the corner of Andrea Lee, who said some pretty tough comments about Brazilians. He said, we know that she's going to cheat. We know these dirty Brazilians, or something around those lines. Not very nice, not very pleasant, and that got a lot of people to not be fans of his. Adrian Yanez had tweeted out something about he's going to knock him out for that. You know, he owes it to Brazilians to go ahead and take care of business. I think even Gilbert Burns had tweeted at Adrian Yanez saying that he'll give him some money if he knocks him out. So Brazilian people are not happy with Tony Kelly, and just people in general. Tony Kelly kind of put his foot in his mouth on that one. So Adrian Yanez and Tony Kelly is going to be a huge fight to watch. But here's the beautiful thing about the UFC. Here's the beautiful thing about MMA. MMA, right? When you're inside the octagon, no one gives a shit who's a better human or not. Are you better as a fighter? Tony Kelly can say whatever he wants. Tony Kelly came out and said, I'm not a bigot, I'm not racist, I'm not these things. You know, it was just heat of the moment. I didn't mean it in that way, and you guys are trying to change it. Of course, but here's the truth. If Tony Kelly was a bigot, if he is racist, if he is any of these things, it still doesn't matter. When you're in the octagon, none of this shit matters. Are you better than that guy or not? Now, does it matter to the UFC? Does it matter to the corporation that's having this person on and you know, the sound bites are coming from a UFC audio? Yeah, it probably matters to them. But when you're in there, Adrian Yanez isn't going to win this fight because he's not racist or because he's a better human being than Tony Kelly. If he wins the fight, it's because he's better than him. You know what I mean? That's the beauty of MMA. MMA doesn't care. Doesn't care what your beliefs are. Doesn't care how you treat others. It just cares about your skill set. Court McGee is on this card. That's pretty cool. Ricardo Ramos, Danny Chavez. Gloria DePaula's on this. Eddie Wineland, Cody Stamann. Two guys that have not been on the good side of highlight KOs. Of things that have gone wrong for both of them, but Cody Stamann is a pretty heavy favorite. Tough fight for Eddie Wineland. He's been knocked out quite a few times now. That chin is starting to go. Don't know how it's going to look against Cody Stamann. Phil Hawes is on this card. I'm always a big fan of Phil Hawes against Darren Wynn. And then Kyle Dawkins on this fight. So it's pretty damn good. Free fight night, man. So get out there and watch this one coming up on Saturday, June 18th. Check that out. You just need ESPN Plus. It is not a pay-per-view, so you don't have to pay. I mean, you do kind of have to pay. You have to have the ESPN Plus subscription, but as long as you do, you get this fight for free. But I will see you guys back. Like I said, Game 5 tonight between Boston and Golden State. I'll be able to cover that on Wednesday for sure. I'll have so much to talk about in terms of the NBA playoffs. I feel like I left so much on the table. All the series that went on, man, I felt like I left so much crap on there. So I'll be able to cover a lot of it on Wednesday. I took notes. I have things that I want to cover. I have things that I want to talk about and I want to share with you and get your opinion on. And that'll happen on Wednesday. I'll get that out there and then be back Friday to kind of cover this along with some other news. I'll be able to cover where that series is. The series might be over by the time we get there, so we'll see what's going on Friday with that Boston and Golden State series. But I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Thanks as always for being here. I appreciate the hell out of you guys. Peace.